Right. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are joining us from. You are welcome to the HR Roundtable, proudly brought to you by the HR Certification Center. The HR Roundtable is your most authoritative chat room when it comes to HR related matters. So, I want to know who is joining us live online now. So if you can hear us loud and clear on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube, kindly send a message in the comment section. Just say hello. Um, I'm Kwabena joining from Accra, or hello, I am Amma joining from Germany, or hello, I am Mauli joining from the Volta region. So let me know who is joining us now. Kindly leave a comment in the comment section. We are live on Facebook, we are live on LinkedIn, and we are live on YouTube. This promises to be a very interesting conversation on office romance. Wow, I have Mildred here. Mildred says, "Good evening, Kwabna. Good evening, Kwabna, to you and your guests." Okay, all right. Thank you, Mildred. Who else do we have here? So, Mildred is joining us from LinkedIn. Who else do we have online? Please do well to share the link with your friends, with your colleagues, and anyone who you think should be listening in to this conversation. Right, I see the comments coming in now. Hello, I'm Eben from Accra. I'm Isaac Minta from Takwa. Hello there, joining from Accra. Hey, Clara, I see you. Sophia joining from Accra. Thomas joining from Jolu. Then Ruth joining from Takwa. Barbara here. Great, 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 great. I'm loving the comments and the interactions already. Hello, I'm Millicent from MSC Ghana. All right. So, as I rightly said, this program is proudly brought to you by the HR Certification Center. And the HR Certification Center is into human resource and leadership development. Our flagship program is the Global Professional HR Certifications, and we provide certifications for HR professionals. We have the Professional Human Resource International, and we have the Senior Professional Human Resources International. To become a certified HR, you can kindly call or WhatsApp this number 0244 122 855. 0244 As we go along in the program, I'll tell you more of the services and some of the products that the HR Certification Center has to offer. So, yes, you are welcome once again to the HR Roundtable, which is your most authoritative chat room online. Today, we are speaking on the topic office romance, and I have with me here three astute HR professionals. I have Yvonne Redwa Kwabli, an HR expert. I have Abigail Echu, an administrative manager and operations and HR assistant. And I have Senior M. Ejabi, an author, country director of WBHO Ghana. So let me start from Senior. Senior, you are welcome. Good to have you here. Let's our guests hear your voice.
Thank you, Kwabna.
Great, good to hear your voice. Yvonne, thank you for joining. I affectionately call Yvonne Auntie Amma, and she has a very
Adiepena.
interesting name, Amma Adepena.
You live long, Kwabena.
Amen. Good to hear
Thanks
your
for
voice, Auntie
being
Amma.
here. Yeah, yeah.
Right, and I was great. And I also have here Abigail. Abigail doesn't like me to call her Dr. Abigail Linda True, so she wants me to call her Abigail. So I won't call her Dr. Abigail. So
Thank you
Abigail,
very
you are
much,
welcome.
Governor. Thank you, Governor.
Good to have you. So today we
Okay.
are speaking, yeah. So today we are speaking on office romance. As they always say, ladies first, but I want to go against the status quo. I'll start with the gentleman first. So, Senor, when it comes to office romance, what will you say office romance is?
Yeah, thank you, Kwabna. This is unfair, but I will protest. But
Please don't.
it's okay all the same. But generally, I think that office romance is any amorous, sexually related um, relationship or interaction or action within the workplace between either employee colleagues or subordinates and their supervisors, or even the stakeholders that, like customers and suppliers that frequent the organization. So, generally, any action between two consenting adults that is sexually related and that happens in the workplace, that has a semblance of a relationship, then would be termed or referred to as a workplace romance, yes.
Right. Let me hear from Abigail. Abigail, what should you say office romances?
I mean, all words have been spoken by Senor. So, as Senor said, it's actually a romantic relationship. It's also sexual. It's also mostly consensual in nature. Between two, let's say two, if I can say two members or members of a same organization, okay? And these members could be in different departments or sections or branches. This same relationship could be between peers, okay? So we can cite example like, the former president of the United States of America, Barack Obama, and the First Lady, Michelle Obama. Okay, they met at a Chicago law firm, and then they started this whole romance thing. So that is between peers. You can also talk about that romantic or sexual relationship between two superiors. And we can cite an example like the former CNN president, Jeff Zucker, and then the executive vice president, Alison Gallust. They had a romance which became a brouhaha all over. That is between two superiors. And then, of course, the most common one we all know is between the superior and the subordinates. An example is what happened not long ago in Ghana. Unfortunately, I have to use that as an example. The first Atlantic Bank, right? Manager and
Yeah.
then the young lady. Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, yes, it's romantic, and most importantly, it's consensual. It is consensual. It's not forced. It's that kind of agreement between two people.
Great. I like how you have graduated it between peers, between a senior and a junior, or a superior and a junior, and the third one. That's interesting. But I'll come back. I'll come back to you. I have a lot of questions per how you have graduated it. But let me hear from Yvonne. Yvonne, what should you describe as
They've
office
said
romance?
it all. What I want to add is that when we talk office romance, and Senyo said this earlier, people only think of the four walls of the organization, but it could be between a staff and a key stakeholder like a board member, a key client, even a regulator. So it has those external extensions that we should have at the back of our minds when we talk office romance.
Okay. All right. So from all that we are saying, I hear a few words running through your submissions. I hear sexual, I hear consenting adults, and I hear happening within the organization or within the organization, whether an external and an internal stakeholder. So my next question will be: does this office romance have any potential benefits or risks to the business? And per your response, why so? Let me start with Abigail.
Well, this is very, very, I would say yes and no. Okay. Indeed, it does. It does. There are a lot of risks, and I mean, a lot of findings have come up with so-called or likely benefits. Okay. So first of all, probably we can touch on a few risks. And first of all, when colleagues getting together, it can increase the risk of sexual harassment claims. And
Right.
this is so crucial. This is a topic that we are not talking about. And I don't know, maybe you should have a program about this. It's a very crucial
Mm,
thing. So
mm,
it increases the risk of sexual harassment claims and then reports of hostile work environments. Okay. And
yeah.
then there is also the situation of conflicts of creation of conflicts of interest. These are basically
Yeah.
like the three key risks. The reason is that you see, more commonly, when there's an office romance, okay, it makes the rest of the team uncomfortable. I don't know about my senior and Amma. I don't know what you think, but it makes the rest of the team very uncomfortable, and it affects performance.
Mm,
Because the observers of that particular relationship, that romance, they feel unnerved. Okay, they feel unnerved, and it's like, oh, we are all colleagues working together, and then all of a sudden we move from being colleagues to something else. What
mm,
happened? What are the accepted norms? What is the accepted behavior in the workspace? So that's about that. And then once someone on the team has a dual relationship, not just colleague relationship, but that particular aspect coming in that relationship, it changes the whole norm, and it makes everything looks very, very awkward. And then we can also talk about risks such as abuse of power scenarios, which is very rampant. It's very common. We can talk about the workplace harassment situations, because people are dating and other people might also want to take advantage of others. And then, of course, company disruptions, favoritism. You can talk about confidentiality breaches, workplace distractions, retaliations. So these are, some of the risks I can mention. I believe my colleagues will
mm.
add up. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of risks, but none of
Mhm.
the benefits. Nevertheless, let me move to Yvonne.
Yes, I thought probably when we come back, we can talk about the benefits. Some people
Okay.
say, or some research that I read, how do you call it? Some research I came across are
Yeah.
talking about likely. I put the word likely benefits because I also have my own reservation regarding office or corporate romance. I mean, we
Mm,
cannot run away from it, but I have my own reservations. And
mm,
so you read things like it boosts workplace energy, because
mm,
some researchers are saying that the people who are associated in love affairs perform better than earlier, in an attempt to actually impress the other party. Okay, and so they create this kind of positive vibe all around the place, and then there is this whole positive attitude heightens. Okay, and it
mm.
is good for productivity margin of the company. Okay, but
Okay.
then again,
So
it's debatable. So that's
let me
just
catch
an
you. Let me catch
example.
you there, Abigail. Let me catch you
Mhm.
there. Let me take it from Yvonne, and then I'll go to Senor. But before I take Yvonne, please, our audience joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, we want you to get interactive with us. If our guests are saying something that you agree with, you can leave a comment. If you also have a concerting view, you can also leave a comment. And if you have any questions as well, you can leave a comment and I'll attend to them. So, Yvonne, you have the floor.
So I will start with a few advantages of office humans. I mean, when you take Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all have the need to belong. In the office, we are belonging, yes, but I have this special relationship with this person, and of course, it makes me feel motivated. And in some cases, the lovers come to work very early with the one of them has this hope that I would come early to see my lover, spend some time before the work rigor starts. Okay. And then
Hmm,
sometimes do they stay late? Yes, they may not be working completely when they stay late, but they get something done. Okay, so it's there, and then it sometimes creates this sense of security for the two people. Depend, and this is usually when it involves a higher and a lower grade people, like one is a subordinate and the other is a superior. That also
hmm,
brings a sense of security to the one who is not who is the junior, because the
yeah.
senior person will protect them. And then the senior also knows that this junior will bring him info. I mean, this is the typical Ghanaian setting. He will bring him info and give him gists on what is happening around. Okay, so that is there. But like in life, everything has advantages and disadvantages. So as a company, you need to weigh. The risks are too much. The conflict of interest is the first one, where even in cases where genuinely the lover has merited a certain advantage, for example, maybe he's promoted, is transferred to a desired location, people will read meaning into it that because you are dating so so and so, that's why you got it. Okay. And this is
Yeah.
usually the case where the dating, the relationship involves power, where one is above and the other is a team member. So the conflict of interest issues are there. And sometimes this weighs on one of the players, because even when you are aware that you put in so much effort, you've done your best, you merit it, you will hear the rumor and it kind of damps your spirits, and it's like next time you can't even put in the effort again, because it will be seen that because Kwame Kwabena is my lover, that's why I got the position, or that's why I had the transfer, or I was nominated for the training program. So that aspect is there. And the worst one that I want to talk about before Senyo comes in is when the relationship, there's a problem, a strain, or a breakup. The impact on productivity is huge, because when these people have a problem in the relationship, those who are not very professional, and these are very few, bring the problem into the office. And in the office, one person's output is another person's input. So this lady, for example, is peeved, so decides not to forward the document or send you the mail. And because of that, you can't get it to finish your work, because she wants to show you Pepe. Or this man decides that I would also not give the document to person E to finish and get it to you. Okay. And
Yeah.
sometimes they will intentionally delay because they want you to delay after work so they can get you to sort the issue out with you. That delay is causing a ripple effect that will cause a certain deadline not to be met because these two people have issues. And then the aspect of the awkwardness that Linda mentioned, where the relationship is now no more. And those who, when the relationship is going on, staff take stance. You get allies for the man and for the woman. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it breaks up, these allies become opposite enemies, even though they
Yeah.
had nothing to gain in the relationship in the first place. And you find them indirectly also fighting in the background, which also affects company productivity and atmosphere. And so it's important to handle this well. I'm sure we'll get there, but these are the few I want to mention.
That's interesting. It seems to me as though, so the ladies have spoken and the ladies seem to say the negative repercussions it has, office romance has on the business is more than the positives. But let me hear from Senior. I wish you would digress, but let me hear from him.
Yes, yes. If wishes were horses, I mean, look, I have very strong, passionate opinion about office romance. For me, the only positive I can think about is, for example, that it helps form very strong relationships in the workplace, which is one of the good cultural cultural things that an organization should have, that within the organization and within the working population, there should be strong relationships that go beyond just the professional. Okay, friendships that are strong and solid, that helps and drives productivity. But apart from that, which um, makes me sway more on the side of our ladies when they talk about the negatives, it's like Yvonne said, for example, that is a conflict of interest, and that's the first one that comes. So professionally and legally, if you have a conflict of interest policy and you drive it appropriately, then workplace romance is out of the question, because these two are focused on themselves in your workplace when the object of importance is making profit, driving productivity and making profit. So your objectives in the workplace are going to be on the back burner for these two guys who are focusing on each other and trying to, better their own pleasures in the workplace using your time and all other resources they can get. I mean, they'll use their phones, they'll use your internet, to communicate and do all sorts of things. And for me, that is where the problem is. Let's go to biology.
Yeah.
Humans are created as adults to copulate, to come together and have a relationship and then make babies. Basically, biologically, that's how we are structured. And if you
Yeah.
look at the animal kingdom, the issue of choosing a mate is always a turf war situation. And most of the time, there's a lot of fights. But because we are rational beings and as human beings, we go about it diplomatically. But it's not too different from what happened within the context of biology. So if a company allows workplace romance in their workplace, then they are opening up their workplace for turf war, because then guys would fight each other to go for the females that they are interested in. And once that happens, there's a lot of dissonance in the workplace. There's no way workplace romance can, in a very serious corporate environment, can be positively impactful on the organization, except the business is set up in a way that ensures that, for example, in the security sector, in security organizations, because of keeping information within and confidentiality within the organization, then workers are encouraged to date and marry each other, so that it's like, even with families, the organizational identity and all other confidential situations are going to be guarded. Okay, but that is a specific rare issue. But for me, the fact that workplace romance would result in knocking heads together, people, and you have guys who are not controlled in that kind of context, and they want to date as many people as possible, like
That's
we saw
possible.
in the Big Brother house, where one
Yeah.
housemate wanted to play different ladies, and then it
Yeah.
creates all sorts of problems. And the problems that it creates is where the negative starts flowing. And if I start right now, I can name about 50. But it all starts from the fact that guys will contest and compete to go after one lady and do all sorts of things to make sure they succeed, or decide to snatch, or so many things. So, Kwabna, not
Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
too much,
Yeah.
this thing in the workplace, I don't see what positives it brings. People should forget. We should just leave it at the door when we come to work. And when we close, we can have a
Go and
happy
pick it
hour,
up. Yeah.
meet in the pubs and things, and then take it up from there.
Yeah. So
Kwabena,
from
I
all that
wanted
you are
to
saying,
quickly chip in. Kwabena, I wanted to quickly chip in something.
mm,
Um, you know about the risks, you see,
yeah.
it could also serve as a basis for extortion. In
Mm,
fact, I don't know if the situation is very rampant in Ghana, but we follow foreign news, and we know that these things are very common in so many countries, in advanced countries, where women, okay, for example, are provoking men, okay, in their organizations towards harassment in order to extort money from them, and vice versa. Men are also doing the same thing. And recently, this First Atlantic Bank manager issue, I could easily link that to that. I could easily say that the intentions were for extortion purposes. Unfortunately, the manager met his demon, and so that is also very crucial. That the risks are
Mm,
weightier than the benefits. So yes,
mm.
we shouldn't
Okay,
even
so
condone it.
yeah, so clearly the negatives outweigh the positives, if there are any, when it comes to office romance. But this is what happens in principle, but in practice, we know that some of these things still go on. But for you, what will you say, with your experience? What will you say companies should do to curtail office romance? I know one of you spoke about putting, I think Senior spoke about driving the policies and making sure that they are done. But beyond that, what can be done to make sure that the bane of office romance does not thrive in the office space? I'll start with Yvonne.
Okay, Kwabna. So no one knows where one will find love. And as HR practitioners, I don't think we should stop people from finding love. But there are boundaries, there are limits to we expressing the things we want to express. So there's the need to put together policies to help people to understand how to manage these amorous relationships in the office. In some companies, it's a no, no, zero. So once you realize you are falling, especially those with the cameras around, you either resign or when you are caught, you are summarily dismissed. Others also say that, okay, we understand you could find love here, but when you do, inform us immediately out of goodwill. If you are in the same department, we will separate you. Some will even separate you from the business unit, the location, like put you in another branch. But I've worked in places where they say once you show your inform HR of your intention and you are separated. If
Yeah.
the relationship leads to marriage or it breaks down, one of you must resign.
Mm,
So you know that it's up to dating. And even though it has its good sides, it's turned into what Senyo mentioned. The guys who want to show their alpha maleness will just be testing the
mm,
ladies around and tell you that I love my job. If I push the relationship further, I have to resign. I'm not prepared to leave. So let's break up. And they will be doing that. And before you see, there are enemies within the entity because of these breakups. So
mm,
you first of all need to understand your business. What kind of values do you subscribe to? What kind of atmosphere are you looking at? So that depending on that, you know, okay, based on this, our policy will say no office romance or amorous relationships here, or yes,
mm,
but these are the boundaries. Okay, so that
mm.
you can manage it well. But even where it was said that you should inform, most people will not inform. They are either caught on office cameras or in the washrooms before they
Yeah.
now start confessing. And sometimes it can be so tedious for HR to deal with. And the typical Ghanaian, they will start saying that the HR does not want them to love. I remember one of the places I went, they gave me a name of one of those people fighting Romeo and Juliet. I didn't even know the name until I Googled it and I noticed that hey, I'm enemy of progress to love. So it
They will take you to Alpha Hour.
so it's important to put the policies there, but most importantly it's let them understand why you have this policy. We are not saying don't fall in love. There's this researcher, he's called Art Markman. He's a psychology and marketing professor in US, I think University of Texas also. And he is saying that if you say no office romance, you would have chaos, because they will be doing it and hiding, and before you see, it blows up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, because I'm in a relationship with Kwabna, and we've not told anybody. And I see Kwabna being nice to Doris and Denise and Sophia, and the jealousy in me pops up and I react. Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, but it's there. So he is saying that you can't prevent it, because the more we work with people, men are wired to love people close to them who serve them. That is a man. So once you have put them together, man and woman, at least we are not talking LGBT yet, and they are together, this young lady is buying lunch for this man, checking up on him, before you see, something is happening. So rather
Yeah.
put in measures to try to control it in such a way that the person knows that even though I can do it, I can't go this far. Yes, because not everyone is so
Interesting.
professional to manage office relationships. Some will
Yeah.
bring home wahala to the office, and it's so chaotic to deal with when it gets there.
Right. Very interesting. But I don't know why when Yvonne was making her submission, it seemed to me as though the office romance, the it always comes from the male's side. So I'll just give the opportunity to Senior to also speak from the lady side if it is so, or not if it's always the men who do so. But Senior, how can the company make sure that the bane of office romance doesn't take over their systems?
Yeah. So you said I should comment from the ladies' side,
Yeah,
Babla.
because Yvonne was very specific with the male side.
But how can I speak from the ladies' side when I'm not a lady?
But she
Ref-
spoke for the men when she's not a woman. Maybe per your experience.
Papa,
she should follow her line. Me, I'll speak for the male. In any
I-
in,
probably
in any
Abigail will speak for the women.
I'm sure.
in any case, Kwabena,
Yeah.
the fact is that Yvonne has said some very solid things about policy, and that is what the labor law, for example, encourages, because you find that you will not find anything in the labor law that directly addresses things like office romance. So in section 8 of the law, the um, provisions require that employers will develop policies to regulate these things in the workplace. And so policy is one of the key things that must be put in place, detailed to address the various contexts of office romance as to whether it's accepted and controlled or not accepted at all, and the consequences that come with it. Now, Yvonne said that we can't stop people from falling in love in the workplace. I'm saying that the workplace is not a place to come and fall in love. If you come and fall in love in the workplace, then that workplace is no longer for you. It's better that you focus your attention somewhere. So you know what I have done in my practice, I think for the past decade now, right, would be to put that as an example under the conflict of interest provisions in the contract of employment, so that from the outset and on contractual basis, you know that your contract does not allow you to do certain things in the workplace that fall under office romance. That is also a conflict of interest. Now, that is me as a practitioner. And people who know me as a very strict practitioner. I'm more harder in HR application than soft, because the soft HR has its place. But where things affect productivity, for example, we don't accept hard drugs, even though some types of drugs in some jurisdictions, not in the Ghanaian jurisdiction, some drugs are acceptable, okay, and are not criminal in certain jurisdictions. But in the workplace, it is still not accepted during working hours and so on and so forth. So for me, make it contractual and ensure that during onboarding and during orientation processes, it is drummed into people's head. And then you need to also then run it alongside your sexual harassment policies in the workplace. And in those kinds of advocacy and communication to workers, you let them know that these things have thin lines between relationships, legitimate relationships in the workplace, romance, and then, of course, harassment and abuse, and so on and so forth. Because all these tread in the same line, and if not controlled, it then creates, a lot of crazy actions on behalf on the side of the workers, and then we have problems. Finally, this is what I'll say on this issue, that it is all about actions and consequences. So it is up to an organization to set the rules and enforce the rules. And when people fall into the in breach of the rules, they need to be dealt with, actions and consequences. So you don't do it. If you do it, you can hide it, and if it comes out, we'll nip it in the bud. And we'll nip it in the bud so drastically that people who even have, I mean, excuse my language, but let me say this: men would not have erections in the workplace when they see their colleague females. That is the extent to which we should nip this thing in the bud and deal with people who do it, so that others do not even think about doing it at all. I hope my language has not been too strong. If it has,
Oh
apologies.
no, I
Yes.
think it's fine. You have drawn down your point.
I'm sure
Okay,
that
Abigail, let me hear from you.
Uh, Kwabena, I think everyone has said it all. It's all about being professional. Let's not forget that we're here to work. We are not here to brew romance, if I can say so. And of course, I mean, we all know that now work is taking up more and more time. And it's in the workplace, of course, that we find the two key drivers, that is intimacy and familiarity, okay, for an attraction to develop. But like Senior is saying, there should be policies. I ever contracted for an organization where when you have the contract for the first 3 years, you are not permitted to have any kind of romantic relationship with anybody in that organization, nor with any external stakeholder for that matter. In fact, the next one that came will be a surprise to you, that you could actually not even get married within those 3 years, because the activities were project based, and it's timed. So they needed all your concentration, all that comes with the so-called professionalism that most of the time we take for granted. When these things come in, we lose the logical aspect. Logic, I mean, emotions overtake logic and reasoning, and that is the danger associated with the so-called corporate or office romance. So like Senior said, it's all about the policies. Of course, it's very difficult making policies to say no way, no way, no way, and no way. But the organization is still capable of coming up with what the guidelines and all that, in order to regulate these issues and these circumstances. However, I think I stand with Senor. I so disagree with corporate romance. I so disagree. I think it should not be. It shouldn't
Yeah,
happen. Not in
shouldn't
the
be.
workspace. Yes, it should not be. Not in the workspace. Not in the workspace.
So right, thank you very much. So I gather from all of you that policy must indeed drive the way, and when some of these things happen, they must be used as examples to make people understand that these actions definitely have dire consequences. But having policy driving the way and let's say colleagues in the workplace find out that there is some office romance going on between some other colleagues. They might not necessarily be HR people, but let's say in another department. How would you advise that they go about it professionally? As in, how should they
Okay,
report
Kwabna,
it?
so oh, so in the first place, you've already taken the stance that companies should report when they are in the notion of such a relationship. But I would
Mm,
first of all say that mind your business, okay? And then I'll
okay.
follow up by saying that unless this particular partnership or relationship is interfering with the workflow, with the duties of the parties involved.
Mm,
So if this is so, then I recommend it to be reported probably to the line manager or to the HR manager. However, maybe in cases the line manager or the HR manager involved, which does not happen, then you can take it to the next level of what? Command. Otherwise, I
mm,
mean, and also, of course, unless there is a policy, like CNN has a policy that once something like that sparks up, you should inform the HR, you should inform the
mm,
organization. If there's nothing like that, then basically mind your own business. But if there is an interference or there is a policy of disclosure, then you should go ahead and then act accordingly to these two.
interesting. Okay, Senior, let's hear your take on this.
Yeah, I think that um, I would state clearly here that implementing a no workplace romance policy is extremely difficult. So it's difficult to police because when people fall in love and they don't show it openly, you never know. So the first thing is that the contractual arrangement is there, the policies are there, the education is there, communication is there. What happens next is when people act out in ways that, like Doc said, affects the job. So if it affects the job and it has a positive or adverse impact on the work process, like people are having difficulties communicating, people don't want to talk anymore, they are loggerheads, etc., etc. Then, of course, you start with the progressive discipline process where you try to find out exactly what is happening. If those actions are against any workplace policy, you kick in the disciplinary process and you deal with it. Another very nice way of handling this is also using the anonymous reporting systems, okay, like a whistleblowing systems where management is going to be notified anonymously and then the parties are called and cautioned as a first issue, and if it continues, they go through the standard disciplinary processes and etc. etc. So for me, I would use progressive discipline to handle it, but I would only handle it if the negative effects come out, because certainly people are going to do it. Okay, and you can't stop them from doing it. And like Yvonne said, you can't stop people from falling in love in the workplace. And I am a proponent of love and romance to say that people must be at liberty to identify the female or male or partners or potential partners that they want to be with,
Mm,
identify them and wish to have them. Okay, but unfortunately, it is not the workplace and during working hours that those can play out. So if it does play out, cool. We may not know about it, and it's fine. It does not affect um,
mm,
the work. It does not affect the job. It does not create any issues in the workplace. It's fine. It's as fine as possible until it starts going bad. Then the policies and discipline and all other actions will fall in place. But I advise on a very stealth approach, a very confidential approach to it, not a brash approach, not a victimization approach. just to help the parties to understand and reorient their ideology about work and productivity, that it is the wrong place to pursue that kind of agenda. So progressive discipline is great. You caution and then you warn and then you try to help them. If they do not, then you kick in the more severe levels of discipline. And I think that when we approach it this way, half and half, we would be able to achieve the objectives of trying to
Mm.
focus attention on work rather than anything else, which becomes a disruption in the workplace.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Senor. So before I get to Yvonne, I just want our online audience to know that after Yvonne's submission, I'll come to the comment section and start taking your questions. I have some very interesting questions come up in the comment section. So we'll attend to them. Yvonne, let's also hear your take on this.
Yeah, it's apart from the policy, progressive discipline, you also need to educate the staff to understand that even as our emotions and desires we want to do something, the company, the office is a professional setting. There are people who are in relationships, they are very professional about it, they are able to hide it and only expose it at the time of engagement. And by then, one of them has put in their resignation. You ask them, they'll tell you that, oh, I'm going abroad to study. Before you see, the wedding card is in, and then after that, they are starting a new job somewhere. But these are like 2 out of 10. So you need to let them
Yeah.
understand that this thing they are going in has risks of it
Mm.
affecting their work, which would eventually affect their team, the company, risk of the emotional burden of even keeping it a secret, the risk of being hurt when the relationship breaks down. And with office romance, the research shows that men are bad at handling the breakup than the women. So
Mm.
it's also there. So you need to let them understand the risk. The other thing too is what Senyo mentioned. Approach it from a best intention point of view. Not that you want to victimize them. I want to stop you from having lovers. No, but let them understand its import and impact upon the company and on their own career development. Because sometimes employees forget that this is not where they will end. So you've spoiled here with your love affair. You are moving to Senyo's
Mm.
company and it becomes a trail after you. So let approach it from a best intention point of view, tackling them as individuals, where you let them understand this thing can have a huge negative impact on you as a person, your emotions, your career, your team, the company. Are you ready for those risks? Because we know you can't handle it. That is why we are doing it this way. And then back to what Senyo said, let them know the policy. Sometimes it's in policy only when the thing has happened and the staff is like, I didn't know. So
Mm.
share it with them. Sometimes you can even bring people in, like if you know people who fell in love in the office and got married, they should come and tell them their challenges and what they went through to make it so real for them to understand that it's not that you don't want them to fall in love, but you are managing a professional entity, and so you
Mm.
want to stay so. So let them know the policies, let them know the impact. The
Yeah.
last one I'll add to whether there's a policy or not, and this is mostly to us listening, don't date your superior. If you are a superior, don't date your team member or subordinate. Time is not on our side to explain the repercussions. So no
Mm.
matter how much you can't control yourself, how beautiful or handsome the person is, control yourself and then keep it off limit. And the last thing is tell them not to hide it, because when it is exposed, it's so embarrassing. Like this particular
Mm.
one, we caught them in the office washroom. You see,
Oh.
it's so embarrassing. It's even if they were just kissing. I mean, it will be so embarrassing. So don't hide it. Open up. to help them to open up. And if they can't open up, have avenues like the speak up, whistle blowing that Senyo mentioned, to allow others to also speak up. Because
Yeah.
sometimes this relationship has a heavy burden on onlookers than even the two lovers. And it becomes a huge problem, especially even when it's external, internal. So the board member walks in, the client walks in, and everybody feel, let's wait for Yvonne to serve him, because it's Yvonne's man, or it's Yvonne's, it's Kwabne's woman. And so everybody holds back. And so you need to help them not to hide it, and have avenues to help them to report when it happens. And then help them to understand the benefit of self-control at work. And that is why these days you find HRs understanding that there's a very thin line between personal space and professional space. And so we are creating extracurricular activities to help people vent some of these feelings. Happy hour, fun games, trips outside, bringing massages to the office. All these are to help people vent these emotions instead of using it to target one person and thinking they are in love, but it's not love. It's just the fact that the person is close to you and you see the person, you think you love the person.
Yes,
So that's what.
familiarity and all that. Yeah.
Yes, Yvonne, and add also that, if you can't control yourself, just wait. When you leave the organization, you resign and go, you can come
Beautiful.
for a return match. Yes.
Yes, we had one like that in one of the places I worked. The manager is a
Interesting.
senior manager. He
Interesting.
just resigned. We even thought he had embezzled funds or something.
Even
Then
I have to
about
cut you.
2 months down the line, we went for engagement.
Interesting. Sorry, I had to cut you on that. We have about just 7 minutes to wrap up, and I have to take some comments from the comment box. So let me start with the comments. This is coming from Doris. I totally agree with the current submission. Your end product is someone's raw material to work with. And I have a question coming from Dennis. How will you? So let me send this question to Abigail. How will you term couples working in the same office? Would you encourage it? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Abigail, you want to take it?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Um, so basically, the person did not specify which couples are in question here. If they are like going out just dating couples, or whether they are married couples. Okay, because for
I think
example,
you'll be telling
in
me that.
different yes, in different industries, you have couples working together. For example, in academia, you have uh, doctors. This doctor belongs to this particular department. The husband or the wife is in another department. That's a different thing altogether. But with what we are talking about, like we've all made our submissions, care must be taken. Actually, care. We can't say no and we can say yes, but we should be cautious, we should be tactful, we should act professionally. Like Senor has said, like Yvonne has said, the workplace is for work. Of
Yeah.
course, we can't prevent people from so called falling in love. We can't suppress people's emotions, but we should be very, very tactful. We should be aware of
Yeah.
the space where we find ourselves in order to act appropriately. Yes.
Great. Great. I think we have spoken at length about the advantages and disadvantages of these kinds of relationships. And thank you very much, Abigail. The workplace should remain the workplace. It's not really a place to come and find love. And when you do, you know what to do next. Right. So Kofi says very insightful. LinkedIn user says spot on, Yvonne Adiepena Redu Akpabli. This comes from Akosia. I have seen colleagues date in same workplace, but when they finally decided to marry, and if the company, no, let me say this again. I have seen colleagues date in the same workplace, but when they finally decide to marry, and if the company has branches, they transfer one to another branch. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Akosia. Akosia again says that office romance currently is inevitable. People just have to leave personal life home. People have to leave personal life home and get serious when they get to the office. Okay, let me see. Okay, I have something here from Emily. Emily says, thumbs up, senior. Have another comment from Precious. How would you deal with married couple in the same company? I think Abigail spoke about that. Let me take this from Isaac. Okay, I absolutely agree with the submission from Senior as making it policy inclusive. Then this comes from Henrietta. I believe if it is not affecting productivity, then I see nothing wrong with it. Okay, Henrietta, we have heard. Precious says, as an HR, what will you do if your CEO wants to marry someone from the firm? Amazing. Okay, Senior, I'll leave this to you.
Then we are in trouble.
That's a simple
Because
answer.
the person who should show leadership and own the policies and take control of driving productivity is the one who is guilty of the same thing. That kind of environment will have chaos, will be chaotic, and would struggle to be productive. And I've been in environments like that before. It stifles career growth. It is full of workplace politics, and it just does not foster proper relationships and help the organization to grow. So that organization will continue to have problems. I think that a whistleblower may want to go to the board and um, maybe anonymously tip the board or a board member one way or the other. And if the board is not under the control and thumb of the CEO may be held accountable. Actually, I've dealt with a case where we had to fire a CEO. I was a consultant to the organization, consulted on how to fire a CEO that was involved with a lady in the organization and breaching the code of ethics of that organization. And because he was an executive, we had to negotiate some settlement in terms of an exit, a golden parachute, and all of that. So yeah, there are ways you can get out the CEO, but hey, it's a difficult one. So we pray that our CEOs don't go there. But if you find it, then it will be a problem. And if you really, really cherish your career and you want to be in an organization and be led by a corporate executive that really would affect your career positively, then you would have to move to another organization, because that kind of environment will never give you the opportunity to be the best that you can be. It will be a very toxic one. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Let me take this interesting one from Dennis. It's very interesting. You know why I'm saying it's interesting. Okay, he says that if two people are dating from different companies, but does it during working hours where they visit each other in their offices, is it office romance? This is like building romance. Yvonne, please, what would be your take on this?
It is. You remember we said there's the external type of office romance. You are playing love within the office setting. Okay. So
Yeah.
the fact that you are coming from company B to company A, you sit there and you are officiating, it has its own impact on the work and all the other people looking on. Okay. So it all comes back to the issue of discipline. Like if I'm working here, I'll get up and go to my husband's office and we are doing all sorts of things. No, it's not done. Get a hotel around your offices and go there and do all that you want to do. Yes. So when you are creating these policies, remember these external players we talked about: clients, board members, advisory board, other stakeholders like that, so that If you start encouraging couples because he is married, he can come from another office and officiate in your office. Before you see, others are doing it and using that allowance you've given to those people to
Yeah.
justify their action, and your policy breaks down. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. People will always exploit when they see a loophole in the policy. So it's better I just nip it in the bud. Thank you very much to Dr. Abigail Linda Etru, Yvonne Redo Akpabli, and Senor M. Ejabin for spending your 1 hour with us speaking on this very important topic, office romance. And I believe that our audience online have learned a thing or two, which is going to help them in their practice. At the HR Certification Center, we seek to provide relevant information to HR practitioners to help them boost their professionalism and their practice as HRs across all industries. So we talk on topics that affect or topics that are not industry specific. We have a short course coming on from the 24th to the 28th of April, which is HR strategy and talent management. Effective talent management must align with the overall HR strategy of a business to attract the right talent and to contribute to a positive employee experience. If you believe this is something for you and you believe it to help you develop as an HR person or even as a manager at every level, you want to call 020 800 7585. I'll take the number again, 020 800 7585, and participate in this week-long executive short course on HR strategy and management. So this has been the HR Roundtable, which is your most authoritative HR chat room online. My name is Kwabnanya Mitchell Dapa, and it's proudly brought to you by the HR Certification Center. Thank you so much for spending your 1 hour with us. And next 2 weeks, we'll be back here again with a very interesting topic I'm sure you'll be interested in and you'll be interested to join. This particular discussion will be on our LinkedIn platform. It will also be on our Facebook and our YouTube platform. You can go to it and listen anytime that you have the time or you have the need to. Please do what to also share with your friends and with your colleagues. And let's all learn and make the HR practice better than we met it. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening. It's bye for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.